Sorry, folks, I'm arguing with my typewriter right now. Give me just a second to figure this out. Lights out on the hour. It is the hour of the time. Lights out for the curfew of your body, soul, and mind. This is Richard Greaser, and you're listening to the Paznia Radio Network.
When good men stand together and do what is right, there is hope for the future and victory is in sight. The forces of evil are daunting and scary. Temptations of submission will make anyone wary. What we are witnessing is a battle for perception. All they have is dishonesty and deception. They want you to be tired, afraid and alone. Their control disappears in the face of backbone. There is no way to control a population that is ungovernable. People are dangerous when they choose dignity over being comfortable. When you realize how much there is to lose, all you can do is stand your ground and refuse. All around us are people with brains dissatisfied with settling for living in chains. Inside them is a primal hunger for something more than settling for compliance and being a whore. When things become difficult, do you want to cower and hide? Or will you embrace adversity and take it in stride? To die with dignity is preferable to being a slave. History will look kindly on those who choose to be brave. There is no easy path forward, whether you comply or defy. In the end, no matter what, we all will die. Between now and then are lots of decisions. Means and information are the most dangerous munitions. People with brains dissatisfied with settling for living in chains. Inside them is a primal hunger for something more than settling for compliance and being a whore. When things become difficult, do you want to cower and hide? Or will you embrace adversity and take it in stride? To die with dignity is preferable to being a slave. History will look kindly on those who choose to be brave. brave. When times become difficult, we are faced with opportunity to invest in each other, take care of our community. The soul needs healing in a world that is chaotic. Our pain has purpose, allowing us to be more than robotic. So tune into the bugle to fortify your mind and boost us with Bitcoin if our values are aligned. If you're listening out there, know you aren't alone. Join as we travel bravely into the unknown.
Sorry about the silence in the beginning. I was fighting with my typewriter. That's just, pretty normal stuff if you're a podcaster trying to do live streams. But that song is not done yet. I'm trying to remaster this other song that I did a long time ago called Did You Think It Was Going to Be Easy? And so I was doing that last second before the stream started, and I thought I'd play it because it was a cool concept, but it's not done. It's pretty rough, so it needs some remastering, some tweaking for sure. But folks, this is Monday Night Stream. I'm your host, Richard Greaser. Music Mondays on the Paznia Radio Network. Hope you're doing well. I don't know. Typically I roll in these streams and I just don't have a ton of an agenda other than to just play music and just ramble about whatever I'm thinking about, because I enjoy it. I just enjoy, sitting here, and then I'll go walk around outside and, smoke cigarettes during the music breaks typically. But it's a little bit chilly tonight where I'm at. Probably pretty cold where you're at too, but going into this, I was just thinking it's been a time of introspection, and I think that's what winter typically is. It's a time where you slow down, you don't get as much exposure to sunlight unless you're Stephen Lubka living in Florida or something. But it's cold outside, so you're just not going out. You're wearing a bunch of clothes. Your skin's not exposed to the sun as much when you go out. You just might not have as much energy. And so I think it's a time of introspection, largely speaking, and it's okay to slow down. It's productive. And, during winter, I tend to be just evaluating a lot of things going on. Because you're just stuck inside, staring at a wall or whatever. Lower energy. Some people have seasonal defective disorder or whatever, where they get real sad in the winter. Not me so much. I just get kind of sleepy and tired. But I think it's good to take advantage of that. Of just knowing that there's different seasons and honoring that, of when you feel tired or you feel discouraged or you feel whatever, to just allow yourself to feel that and to question it, and then know that it's not permanent, as long as you keep on moving forward and you actually confront the things that you need to confront. You'll come out the other end, and you'll have these seasons where you feel super inspired and excited and motivated, and you can really capture on it. But, those moments of pain and struggle and introspection and slowing down are valuable moments. And they're some of the most valuable moments that you can experience. Fortunately, I'm not feeling, well, it's not fortunate. It's just that's completely against the framing that I'm talking about. But it's, right now I'm not in a season of pain, but I'm watching a lot of people around me lose their minds and experience a lot of pain, a lot of cognitive dissonance, a lot of, coming to grips with realities that they don't want to accept. And and I see it as like an exciting time to be alive. You know, it's exciting to be in a position where I've gone through a lot of those feelings before, and I know how to navigate these situations, and how to, you know, be helpful and hopefully give some encouragement. Sorry, I got something got something in my throat. Um, like it's just knowing how to navigate this it's an awesome time to be alive. To be honest, like I'm really enjoying being alive right now. I'm really enjoying, you know, putting a lot of energy into creative activities. I'm enjoying, you know, practicing credential journalism. I wake up, I feel excited and motivated, even though I get tired uh, in the winter. And you know, but this week in particular, I've been feeling called into silence, to slow down on the creative output a little bit, and to think. And one of the things that has kind of encouraged me to have that perspective is I've been working on this podcast series for our subscribers on Fountain, all about heroes, and I'm going in to do an episode on villains. That's the goal, and I hope to accomplish that hopefully tomorrow, or you know, maybe next week. But been thinking a lot about villains, and I think it's important to define villains, but I think, you know, oftentimes the framing in a lot of stories is a little bit backwards when it comes to heroes and villains. Like it's not very applicable to real life, because the world we live in, I don't really think, unless you have like a religious belief of like Jesus versus Satan or whatever. But you know, when you're looking at people, I don't think there's really a chief villain. I think there's a lot of villains and a lot of heroes that are kind of jockeying against each other. And in almost all of us fall somewhere on the spectrum of that, and we can kind of oscillate back and forth between the two. Uh, in the, you know, the understanding between the difference of, you know, just knowing what a hero is, what a villain is. Like it's on the Beagle Weekly podcast this week, Ron and I were talking about how we're in the first turning. Like it's a time where, like, sure, society is largely falling apart, but it's a time where accountability matters. And like for a long time, accountability hasn't mattered, and people have become largely nihilistic as a result of that, and they're going to get their asses kicked. Like you could have gotten away with that for a little bit, but it's that time is kind of up. Like that, you know, the restructuring of the world, the reshuffling of power has begun, and as a result of that, people are going to get really wrecked if they live with that nihilistic nothing matters type attitude. I don't believe the world is going to end, and the doomer scenarios are, you know, at least if you're in the United States, there's some places of the world where, you know, the doomer scenario might play out. Like, you know, if you're living in Iran right now, or, you know, some of these countries that are going to face, you know, serious conflict. Um, and I do think things are going to get pretty, you know, difficult. I think, you know, one of the predictions that I made on my podcast, I just see a lot of social upheaval over the summer, a lot of political violence as things start to warm up and people are a little bit more comfortable being outside. It's pretty, you know, incredible looking at what's happening in Minneapolis right now, because it's cold. Minneapolis is practically Canada. It's a horrible place that nobody should live because it's too damn cold. And they're out there protesting in the streets in the freezing cold. Like that's how pissed people are right now. So I think the summer is going to be pretty, you know, turbulent and rough. But like, it's
it's gonna be really, people are gonna have hard realization unless they start to take some personal accountability and really start trying to build the worlds that they want to live in. And that's an opportunity that we all have in front of us right now. And so I've been reflecting a lot on what that means. How do I want to be a part of that? And like a big part of that has been being a Bitcoin podcaster, running the Bugle and doing stuff like that, smoking a lot of cigarettes and whatever. But there's a lot of decisions to be made right now. And there's not really a playbook on what to do. I think, the individuals that give these super self-confident answers as to, prescribing solutions to people shouldn't be trusted. Like you shouldn't trust people that are, giving you extremely prescriptive solutions on how to live because they probably have no clue. They're probably just as retarded as you are. You have no idea what you're doing. You're just kind of making it up as you go. And you kind of get better at making decisions and figuring things out as you fail and you experience consequences and you get feedback from the world around you. That's the best that anybody has to offer is their experience. And none of us really have any experience with living through a time like this with this level of chaos, um, and upheaval and rapid changes in technology with the types of technology that we're dealing with. And the Beagle is really the forefront of experimenting with this stuff. I've spent a lot of time creating music videos recently, and that's been, very fun experimenting with. But even on this music side, like we have been some of the pioneers of integrating music in the way that we are into our content. Like it's just the world is rapidly changing. You were not able to do this stuff 3, 4, 5 years ago, like we're doing today. It's flipping everything on its head, and that's happening outside of here, of like content in general. Journalism is just a small segment of the world. Bitcoin podcasting is just a small segment of the world. The whole world is rapidly changing, and we're all having to scramble, figure out how to respond. And if there's one thing that is very obvious is that humans oftentimes aren't the best intentionally at, or initially at change. What happens anytime there's any sort of disruption is there's a lot of strong emotions, and not all of them are the right things or effective things. And like what happens is that there is struggle and there's competition, and things are kind of made certain. Looking back retrospectively, you're like, why were they going after Galileo for saying the Earth was round? That was dumb. There's things like that. Or why were they trying to stop the distribution of printed Bibles, like the Gutenberg Bible? That was dumb. But and there's millions of examples like that, where people just, like an example is the satanic panic in the 80s, where people were like, sure, your government is ran by satanic child abusers, but, maybe your teenager listening to AC/DC isn't necessarily sacrificing, the neighbor's cat to Moloch, like the politicians in DC are, these children. But whatever. But Yeah, I mean, it's just, in highly emotionally charged environments, I think it's good to stop and slow down and to think for a minute. Because if you lose the capacity to think, there are reasons to engage in fight or flight. And those times where it's appropriate to engage or is like a serious situation where like your house is on fire or somebody is pulling a gun on you to like carjack you, or situations like that are actually dangerous. A time not to respond in fight or flight is when you see something sensational on the television or on social media. That's a time to stop, slow down, regulate your nervous system, and think critically about it. And ask, what does this mean for me? And not a lot of people are thinking very clearly right now because it's a difficult time. Like they're getting their money debased. They are just all the institutions that they were told to trust and had trusted are have crumbled. And the world is rapidly changing. They don't know what to do. There's uncertainty in the air. And so they see something on social media and they get derailed. And so, I think it's a time. It's safe to assume that most of the people in your life are having a hard time right now in one way or another. Like they're under a lot of emotional and physical stress. And so if you're an individual that can deal with that, it's important to show up for people and just to realize that people are probably having a hard time. They're probably stressed out right now. Maybe things aren't the best financially for them. And just, to be a little bit more cautious and aware, because you could really help some people out. And, by showing up for them. But, ultimately, too, it's important for you. I think that, a lot of people like to disconnect during times like this. And it's a time that it's important to stay connected with people. And if you're going to disconnect from anything, it's important to disconnect from the machine and from the matrix. That's what you should be unplugging from, instead of your, the people around you that you built tight relationships with, even if it's difficult to engage with them sometimes and they're acting crazy. But you need somebody. Because that, like, if you want to make a difference in the world and you want to build anything meaningful, you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. Like, you need other people to do it with. And these are hard things. They're hard things, but yeah, I don't know. I do think it's good to slow down and to think. That's what I'm trying to do right now. But next song, folks, is Under Those Chemtrail Skies, followed up by Holding Out for Announcement.
In a bustling newsroom, smoking Marlboro Reds, two men work the beat, just as brave as can be. Ron Palmer has a heart of gold, pen sharp as a knife. Dick Greaser investigating pot and bringing shadows to light. Every week on the bugle, their voices ring so true. They're the heartbeat of the nation, bringing the news to you. Rod and Dick keep on rolling through the thick and the thin, with a fire that keeps burning, that won't let the darkness win. On the Bugle Weekly, they expose all the lies, digging deep for the truth under those chemtrail skies. With the notebooks and the microphones, they fight the good fight, bringing light to the darkness, making wrong things right. They chase down a story, no matter how far, from the dusty back roads to the smoky bar. Rod has the facts, Dick has the flair. Together they are a force, a fearless pair. On the Bugle Weekly, they expose all the lies, things right. When the world needed heroes, they stepped up to the line. In the name of justice, they never did resign. With courage in their hearts and the truth on their side, Ron Dick called the voices that couldn't be denied. From the courthouse steps to the county fair, they break a big story, and they'll always be there. With a tip of a hat and a nod of respect, Rob Palmer and Dick Greaser, they never neglect. On the Bugle Weekly, they falls over lies, digging deep for the truth under those chemtrail skies. With the notebooks and the microphones, they fight the good fight, bringing light to the darkness, making wrong things right. Now the world remembers those two brave souls who bring justice and truth through their mighty roles. Ron Dick and the Bugle, their legacy built, in every story told, and every right from wrong. Every week on the Bugle, their voices ring so true. They're the heartbeat of the nation, bringing the news to you.
doubt takes its hold. Lungs are getting liquidated as sentiment implodes. Satoshi action is more like she run and hide? The bears are in control, and we all need a guide. But the night is always darkest before dawn. Maybe Dennis has been working to protect our rights all along. 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 Dun, 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 dun. I need an announcement. I'm holding out for Dennis to get back into the fight. He's gotta be brave and he's gotta be sharp, or things ain't gonna be alright. I need an announcement. I'm holding out for Dennis to set things right. He's gotta be bold and he's gotta be loud. He's gotta bring the bull market back to life. I need an announcement. I'm holding out for Dennis to get back into the fight. He's gotta be brave and he's gotta be sharp, or things ain't gonna be alright. I need an announcement. I'm holding out for Dennis to set things right. He's gotta be bold and he's gotta be loud. He's gotta bring the bull market back to life.
Alrighty, folks, I'm back. Just tweaking with the settings, changing up the show a little bit. I've been exploring music videos a lot. I have a lot of fun making music videos and, editing them. And I've been working with, these different animation ways to generate an animation. And it's been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying exploring it. And I think if you go on YouTube to the Bugle News YouTube channel and you just look at the videos over the last, couple months, I don't know how long I've been doing this, but not very long. You can see this improvement rate, and it's not necessarily the technology, improving. It's just, me improving in my skill set, through experimentation. Because that's pretty much, everything we do is just experimentation and trying to build off of what we've learned previously. And I think, there's so much upward trajectory that we can go as far as doing interesting things. Like I've got a lot of plans for the Bugle. I've got a lot of ideas for things I want to do. It's just, it takes a lot of time and energy to implement them. And so I get frustrated, sometimes, because I've got more ideas than it feels like I can ever implement in my lifetime. But, part of it is just about slowing down and just, chipping away at it little by little and being consistent. Like that's what I've learned is the only effective strategy is just to, to be consistent, not get overwhelmed. But yeah, I mean, for everybody that supported us, I really appreciate it. I've gotten some really nice comments recently, and I'm glad this stuff resonates with some people. I just, I appreciate that and I enjoy that because this is important to me. I put a lot of energy into it. I put a lot of thought into it, and I put a lot of mistakes into it. But it's just about kind of just going through this learning process. And like I also really like constructive or critical feedback. There's like this growing group of individuals that have bugle derangement syndrome, and I really enjoy that. Not from like a constructive standpoint, because their criticisms are generally just like completely, I don't know, they're just not sensical in the sense like it truly is a form of derangement syndrome. and I just find it entertaining. But yeah, you know, there are times that people are critical of stuff that I do, and if they put thought into it, I really appreciate it. Which is why, you know, when people are being critical, like, send me an email with a long drawn out explanation for you know, what you think about it. And they very rarely, you know, ever go about doing that. It's just generally just grumpiness um and whatever. But you know, I do enjoy hearing those forms of criticism. I might not always agree with them, but you know, I will think about them. But anyway, so I've been working on these music videos, and I just finished one up yesterday. Kaylee is launching her rap career. She's going by Krayley. That's her rap name, Kaylee Welch, our podcast producer. Super hot, smoking hot blonde. And she has this banger song called Bust 'Em Up. I'm about to play it. Posting the music video on Twitter tomorrow. If you see it there, make sure to share it. It's on our YouTube channel, and it's on Noster if you want to go check it out and see it before the Twitter release. But it's a fun song, and it's kind of ripping on the Zoomer culture. Like, there's been a lot of people ripping on Nick Fuentes this week, and it's hilarious because the guy's a goofball, and he's got this army of angry broccoli haircuts. They're really mad at the world, and he's taking advantage of them in a lot of ways, and you know, trying to channel the anger. There's so much inconsistency with his messaging and thought process. Is really funny, but he's a brilliant talker. He's a very good, talented podcaster. Like, his content, I don't find it super interesting. But he is a persuasive speaker, and he's likely one of the best in the world. But people have been clowning on him because he was hanging out with a bunch of, you know, tards, like the heroes of the plebs, of the angry, grumpy, young broccoli haircut pleb, Andrew Tate, and you know, a bunch of other influencers down in Miami or something this week. And I don't know, the timing of the song, I think, is really opportune. I think Nick is on a podcast, like a live stream right now, so I expect that to cause a lot of controversy. He's like a bowling ball. Like, he likes to knock down the pins, which is the you know, the rules that people construct in the cathedral, what's appropriate and what's not. And that's what he's built his brand on, is being a bowling ball, which I can appreciate, because in some ways I'm kind of like that. But I just think we have very different incentives and goals, and I don't really like to manufacture, you know, anger or encourage anything other than smoking more cigarettes and reading books and listening to Bitcoin podcasts and feeling good about yourself. Like, those are the things I care about. I'm not trying to jockey for political power or whatever. But yeah, this is the song Bust 'Em Up. I think it's hilarious. I'll talk about it a little bit after I play it. That's not Bust 'Em Up. All right, let's see. And here we go.
It's game over for these starter pack clones. Oh shit. These mids of Wi-Fi about to be on. No shit. I'm about to rewrite all the rules to the game. Oh shit. They hoes are gonna remember my name. Go get 'em, Crowley. And it's all like, I'm tired of all these whiny bitches. I'm about to bust them up and give them stitches. I be on my grind because I am relentless, but the broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. The broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. NPCs on default settings acting all defenseless. They think Jake Paul is cool, trying to copy his flow, but I'm about to bust them up and throw some bows. Driving around Nashville, trying not to crash out. Basic bitches on Broadway, can't stop wildin' out. I'm on some hot girl shit while they are mids. Copy pasting personalities and never wanting kids. Looking like they came from the Pick-Me factory, mass produced. Where do they change the batteries? I'm on another level while they just are full of slop. Fuck they Lululemon yoga pants and following the flop. Brain rot, it's cool like we're living in idiocracy. Glued to their phones thinking this is a democracy. The algo wants their lives, background characters at best. Unable to make decisions for themselves like they possess. And it's all like, I'm tired of all these whiny bitches. I'm about to bust them up and give them stitches. I'll be on my grind because I am relentless. But the broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. The broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. But broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. The broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. So I'm about to get real and swing for the fences. They think they a base, walking around eyes glossed over. A bunch of pussies bitching out like it's cool to be mediocre. They think he's got riz cause he dissed Candace. So when she's as unhinged as the View, can't handle her emotions. They are all fake and gay, yelling in their echo chambers, pretending like they are real, but are brand-fed instigators. I'm driving high, all gas and no brakes. No, I will not listen to your brain dead takes. I'm all locked in. I'm a fucking heavy hit, about to dunk on you so hard you better reconsider. You can try to stop me, but I'm pretty and paid. Ice in my veins, a bitch you never fade. Cruising in my Wrangler with no ducks on the dash. I use Bitcoin, not a stupid Monopoly cash. And it's all like, I'm tired of all these whiny bitches. I'm about to bust them up and give them stitches. I'll be on my grind because I am relentless. But the broccoli haircuts are listening to Nick Fuentes. Oh, and to all you mass-produced, copy-paste basic bitches, you're about to be exposed because I'm here now. We don't need more followers in the fourth turning. I'm about to put you on blast. No cat, 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 no.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fun song. And I think the music video's, absolutely hilarious because Kaylee's running up and down Broadway in Nashville. And if you've ever experienced Broadway in Nashville, it's just, like the Somalis have taken over Minnesota. The blonde sorority girls have taken over Broadway. And in Kaylee's backstory, she used to be a sorority girl and she kind of fell out from that culture. It's just, she didn't relate to it anymore. She likes to party, but she also likes to listen to Bitcoin podcasts. And typically sorority girls don't like to listen to Bitcoin podcasts. You know what I mean? And so she's just clowning on them. She's clowning on the Zoomers in her generation. The Zoomers have it rough, right? When you're looking at demographics right now, so like the typical demographic that listens to Bitcoin podcasts are like 35 to 55-year-old men. That's why boomers like Larry Lepard, or older Gen X people like Sailor are so popular. Is because that's just like the age group of the people that are listening to Simply Bitcoin on a daily basis. But there's been these attempts to kind of get the younger generations interested. And the problem is you got a bunch of Gen Xers and boomers trying to tell the kids what to be interested in. And the kids got broccoli haircuts. They're like, yeah, you're just not that compelling. And also you're not that cool. You're not that cool. Like we like short form, brain rot, TikTok nonsense. We've got our own subculture of memes that you don't get. And like, if there's one thing that always pisses off young people is when old people try to use their memes and be relatable to them, because in many ways there's like this process that is so necessary for younger people, which is this rite of passage, right? Like they want to figure out things on their own. And that's why a guy like Nick Fuentes is so popular right now. That's why a guy like Charlie Kirk is so popular right now with, well, not anymore, but he was popular. It's because he's representative of like this newer generation of people. Like it's more relatable than being, fed a bunch of stuff by, a boomer or a or a Gen X guy. And like even millennials are starting to get a little bit too old to influence. Like we're the millennials aren't going to be seen as cool in pop culture. You know, we're going to lose our relevancy to these, like Jake Paul isn't going to be that cool for that much longer. Mr. Beast, they're going to be like old guys. Like you know, some people might think that, you know, they're still kind of cool, but it's not going to be like a trending in the moment, dominating the culture anymore type deal. Like the boomers are dying off, and the Gen X people are starting to become those old farts out there. The demographics are changing a lot, and as a result, the culture is going to change a lot, and that's kind of what a song like this is representative of. There is so much Zoomer slop in it. There's much Zoomer slop as is possibly in it, because one, it's kind of funny. Like the Zoomer slop is hilarious. Rod is a master of using Zoomer slop. Like he's always introducing new Zoomer slop in the podcast, like crash out, glaze. You know, words like that. Like he's really clued into it. So is Kaylee. So it's gonna be fun to see her trajectory as a rapper. Krayley is her name. But yeah, I don't know. I have somebody giving me some feedback on the Bugle right now, which I appreciate. And you know, one of the realizations that you know, I oftentimes come to is that, like, the only way that I've been ever able to deal with life has been goofing around. Yeah, because from like an early age, I was able to see just like how drastically there was something wrong with the world. And it felt like I was living in a different reality than most of my peers and other people in the culture that were just kind of walking around. Everything's fine and dandy. And I'm looking around like, no, not everything's fine and dandy. There's some serious issues here. And the only way that I found to deal with that is to goof around. And I think it's incredibly important right now not to take yourself too seriously. And not to take everybody else too seriously either. And just realize, like, we're all just a bunch of retards. I'm retarded, you're retarded, Trump's retarded. Whoever, you're pissed at is a retard just like you are. We're all retards. And we can have fun with it. We can clown the other retards. We can, clown ourselves. We can make fun of ourselves in a lot of ways and not take ourselves too seriously, because we're all walking balls of cognitive dissonance and contradictions. We all are. That's what not being perfect means. Is you're a walking ball of contradictions. And you can try and minimize it, but like part of it is just like having the self-reflection to be able to laugh at yourself. And the Bitcoin community has been very poor at this. And I think a lot of people fall into a very dangerous position when they get up on a high horse. And I think I've been guilty of this, throughout my life. We get into a dangerous position when we get up on our high horse and we're like, oh, we're so morally superior than everybody. Like you could be superiorly informed because you smoke cigarettes and listen to 40 hours of Bitcoin podcasts. Like you might have a better grasp on reality because you read The Creature from Jekyll Island, and your peers are reading Robert Reich or whatever, or Stephanie Kelton, unironically. You might be better informed on some topics, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're unintelligent. It doesn't necessarily mean, they might be acting and operating as an NPC. I think I've talked a lot about the distinction between an NPC and a cognizant human being. One of the biggest ones is just not having all these visceral reactions to things bouncing around like a pinball to stimulus and being able to think critically about things. Uh but yeah, I don't know. I mean, this community in this ecosystem that are interested in Bitcoin and podcast about Bitcoin, and a lot of them have struggled with taking themselves too seriously, and you're seeing it a lot right now. And I think one of the reasons why that is the case is because many of them feel like they're on this moral crusade to save the world or whatever. Which I think is just like it's like one of the most dangerous perspectives that you can have. Is that kind of like life or death, like if you don't do it our way, it's going to be the end of the world. It's just not true. At the end of the day, people to some degree will figure it out. They always have. There's these ebbs and flows in history of tyranny and freedom. And, the human base case is just humans at their base are meant to be free. Like, unless there's like a radical, and there are attempts to some degree to rewire people's DNA so they become like this really dumbed down servitile class. But people are really resilient. They'll figure it out. Like, humans for all of history have lived through some of the most horrific situations. And there are some circumstances in places where things get really bad. It is not. I'm not saying that things aren't serious, but a big part of like being effective and having influence in the world is feeling good. And part of feeling good is laughing and having a good time. Like, if you want to be a persuasive individual, freaking out and losing your mind and being grumpy all the time isn't really a way to do it. It's about, telling a compelling story. And it's like, you see a bunch of people sitting in a circle. You're a kid going to middle school, and you see a bunch of people sitting in a circle that are having fun and smiling. And then you look over at another group of people that are really grumpy, arguing with each other. Like, which group are you going to go hang out with? It's probably the group that's having a good time and smiling. It's like all these ideas and concepts that people have been debating back and forth on. It's kind of time to implement them. That's what we're talking about with this idea of it being the first turning. Like, there's been a lot of preaching to people about how if you buy the hardware wallet that you saw on the podcast, and you buy Bitcoin on the KYC exchange that you saw on the podcast, then you don't have to do anything in life but just sit on your hands and wait for the world to fall apart, and then you'll be rich. That's been a lot of the messaging that has been doled out. And it's not effective messaging. And that's, I think, the crisis that the Bitcoin interested individuals largely engaged in this like social structure that has been created are facing right now. Is they're having that crisis where they're like, fuck, all the shit that the podcaster was telling me to do didn't make my life magically better. Like, I have to take some action. Like, things are fucked up out there. Like, they were saying the world's going to fall apart, and now it has to some degree. It's not as fun as I thought it was going to be. Like, maybe I'm falling apart too. And so it's important to have fun, through it, because it's just much more compelling. It's a lot of people have been very boring. If you're gonna, for how I think Bitcoin just turned 17, podcasts started taking off. I'm not sure exactly when, but they became big. They started probably like 2013, 2012, but they became big in the Bitcoin ecosystem in like 2015 to 2017. And if you're talking about the same ideas and kind of the circular pattern over and over again. If you're having the same podcast, if you like you go on a podcast and you just repeat everything that you've heard on a podcast for the last few years, it's just not that compelling or interesting. There's a lot more to the world than just kind of circularly disseminating the same ideas over and over again. And you can kind of discover this stuff in having fun, in my opinion. And I think Crayley is going to be a ton of fun as an artist. Like she's just a fun character in general. I find her hilarious, and it's just interesting to explore these types of characters. You know, because like the broccoli haircuts are really beginning their hero's journey in a lot of ways. Like they're stepping into themselves, and they need a lot of encouragement. Like I see this consistent thing over and over again where the Gen Xers and the boomers are talking about how brain dead the broccoli haircuts are. And like, yes, kids always do stupid things, but they just have the worst examples. They have the worst examples, and all of them, for the most part, had to deal with being in school and government ran education camps, having to wear masks and deal with the COVID thing. And their teachers treated them like bioweapons. Like that's what the broccoli haircuts had to deal with in one of the most formative times of their lives. It's like, you know, that teachers in public education are really retarded and they're tough enough to deal with. But then you tell these teachers that the children that they're supposed to be teaching are bioweapons and make them terrified. And like these teachers became resentful at the kids. Like COVID was incredible, you know, watching where people are like, I expect to get paid to sit on my butt and watch Netflix. Like that's just where these teachers unions are at. Like how dare you expect me to do my fucking job that I signed up to do because I said I cared about educating kids. It's like, no, well, apparently you didn't care that much. But yeah, the broccoli haircuts, you know, they're beginning their hero's journey. They need good examples. And I just don't think Nick Fuentes is a good example. I think he's a bad example. I think he's a shithead. You know, people are clowning on him. They just, you know, there's like the opportunity in a lot of ways. And in like one of the ways that you become a good example is you're just interesting. You live an interesting life. You do interesting things. You create interesting content. And so I think we're successful in a lot of ways of doing that at the Beagle. We're becoming more successful, but we're having a ton of fun doing it. And it's just like, you know, looking back 10 years from today, when things have, you know, finally stabilized and, you know, the pedophiles are still in charge or whatever, are you going to look back and be like, wow, that was a really good decision to be grumpy, miserable, and unmotivated and demoralized. I'm really glad I did that. I'm really glad I just was consuming fear porn all day and, you know, being mad at politicians or being mad at the Somalis or being mad at, you know, this Bitcoin podcaster says something I disagreed with. That was a great decision. I had a blast being grumpy, run around, just responding to stimulus with my head cut off like a chicken. That was a great decision. Like, no, you're probably not going to think that. You're gonna look back retrospectively. You know, realistically, if you do that, you're probably not going to look back retrospectively and ask a lot of questions on whether that was a good decision because you're probably not going to learn anything. if that's where you're at, that's probably where you'll continue to be at. If you see this, mental health crisis running around America. People run around with Trump derangement syndrome. There's legitimately people that listen to Mike Brock, unironically. Not just from an entertainment standpoint, but they actually consider him a sophisticated philosopher. There's actually people like that. Like, that's just how, unfortunately, people's brains are breaking. And you have the opportunity not to be one of those people. It's hard not to be one of those people. It takes work. It takes being active in your own life, and making decisions against the grain of culture and society. Like, this isn't a lazy river. Life isn't a lazy river. Life isn't sitting on an inner tube, going down a stream that's going, 5 knots an hour, or however they measure speed on water, drinking, beer and just sitting there getting sunburned. It's not how life is. Life is like going through the rapids. Like, if you're in some pretty heavy rapids, and sometimes they get pretty dicey, but like, if you're going through some rapids, you got to be actively aware, or else you're going to get smashed against the rocks. And people are just letting themselves get smashed against the rocks right now. They're just ragdolling around. Like, that's what Mike Brock's doing with his Trump derangement syndrome. He's just ragdolling around, just getting bounced off of rocks. His dome just, getting concussed left and right. And I was one of those rocks. I concussed him pretty bad, I think. But, he's not an unintelligent guy. He's interesting to read, right? He's got points that are interesting to consider, but he just kind of undermines them because he's just so busy glazing himself. He can't articulate what he's thinking because he's too busy glazing himself. But World War III is trending. I don't know if that's an update or people are just tweeting at it, but yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff going on in the Middle East. Whatever. Yeah, I need to get into that tonight. The next song I thought was a fun one. It was I enjoyed the music video for it. It was called Bonnie and Clyde. Kaylee's the main character, and it's about her relationship with E-Cash Sailor, who's another character in the Beagleverse. But if you haven't checked out the music video, it's on YouTube. It's a fun one. It's about E-Cash and Kaylee playing the roles of Bonnie and Clyde, which is an interesting story. But yeah, I'm gonna take a walk and a smoke break. But Bonnie and Clyde, followed by Take My Hand, followed by Ember in the Dark.
Someday we'll go down together, and they'll bury us side by side. They'll tell our story forever. Our legacy won't be denied. Our names written in history. They should have never messed with us. When we're together, there's electricity. They should have never broke our trust. I'll be your Bonnie if you'll be my Clyde. Outlaws at heart, running till we die. I'd rather spend one day with you standing tall than have a lifetime of safety feeling small. I'll be your Bonnie if you'll be my Clyde. I'll be by your side till the day we die. I'll be your Bonnie if you'll be my Clyde. choose to live this way. Someday it will come crashing down, but we were born unable to obey. Our freedom has finally been found. In these awful times, we've been thrust into a war. They say we'll pay for our crimes, but I want to live a life we're dying for. I'll be your Bonnie if you'll be my Clyde. Outlaws at heart, run until we die. I'd rather spend one day with you standing tall than have a lifetime of safety feeling small. I'd rather spend one day with you standing tall than have a lifetime of safety feeling small. I'll be your Bonnie if you'll be my Clyde. I'll be by your side till the day we die. I'll be your Bonnie if you'll be my Clyde. Someday we'll go down together, and they'll bury us side by side. You heard my voice through the sea of noise. Wanted the freedom to use your mind. You met me in the dark where only wise can see. Wanted to leave a mark, control your destiny. Come take my hand, let's make a stand. Here is our chance, it's time to dance. Come and take my hand, we'll dance until the end. While the world is falling apart, they won't understand, but let them all be damned. Feel the music in your heart. Distractions abound to cloud your sight, but you have found the courage to fight. Weighing the cost of facing the system's rejection. The masses are lost, but you have direction. Why do they feel threatened by people with self-respect? We will not kneel and pretend or numb out and disconnect. We're here together, watching the world fall apart. I know you feel the pressure, but this is just the start. Come take my hand, let's make a stand. Here is our chance, it's time to dance.
have fun. Have the courage to use your mind. They may hate our memes, but they cannot crush our dreams. We can still have a good time. Don't let them get you down, that's what they try to do. Break down your sense of self by mocking what is true. If you don't believe your eyes and refuse to use your brain, you will fall for their lies and likely go insane. Come take my hand, let's make a stand. Here is our chance, it's time to dance, dance, dance. Come and take my hand, we'll dance until the end. While the world is falling apart, they won't understand, but let them all be dead. Feel the music in your heart.
Whoops. Well, I guess one of the mistakes I made here, I accidentally put on one of the instrumental tracks. So I was thinking a little bit. There's been a lot of discussion around AI music, right? People are kind of freaking out about it. Musicians are freaking out about it. It's one of those changes that's happening that people are trying to figure out how to adjust to, right? And there's going to be a lot of changes like this. But one thing that's clear is that these tools, they don't really they don't substitute for creativity. Like it's one of those things is like they just kind of mimic it. You know what I mean? And I think you can use them in a way to express creativity and to it's like a force multiplier. Like it can turn you into being able to do a lot of things at once that you weren't able to do before, right? But I think there's something valuable about real music, you know, and one of the ways that it's really valuable is experiencing it in person. And the only way to do that is if you have some sort of performance, whether it's a musician performing their music or like a DJ, you know, that creates this experience and is spinning, and they, you know, they put a lot of time and effort into curating it, and it's more than just playing play on a playlist. But you know, the stuff that we're creating, I think is fun. In one of the things, you know, like one of the biggest criticisms I get oftentimes of the stuff that I've been creating is that it's just too hyper focused, right? It's too on the nose is what people oftentimes say, and that, you know, that's kind of fine, you know, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to create stuff that supplements the podcast, right? And the content that we're creating. Like we're creating memes. It's not trying to replace or create or compete with musicians. You know what I mean? It's like not my ultimate intention here with this stuff. It's just, and I think what I'm seeing is there's a growing group of people that really appreciate this type of music because it speaks to them in a way that a lot of other music doesn't. And the low cost to create it is, I think, what allows for that, because a musician that is spending all this time and energy, because I am a musician, not particularly great as a musician. Maybe one day I will be, but I am a musician and I do write music like a musician does. I'll sit down at the piano and I'll write out songs from scratch. It's a lot of work. It's very different than this type of stuff that I'm playing, and so I can understand the frustration when people hear something like this and they're like, wow, you put a fraction of the time and effort, and it sounds better than the stuff that I've slaved over to create for a long time. But they're just different things in my opinion. And I do think the value of music is the in-person experience, is the connection with other people, and like listening to it on Spotify or whatever is only a small fraction of it. So I don't know. I mean, like I do enjoy being a songwriter, and it's something I'm relatively new at, and I'm kind of learning how to do. And I'm sure my process will change a lot over time as I kind of figure out what I'm doing a little bit more. But there's something fun about being able to create this hyper focused content that is missing, because in many ways it's about making memes. It's a form of making memes. It's just it's the evolution. Like these music videos and these songs that I'm making, they're like a long form meme where the Gen Xers used to sit there on image flip and put captions on pictures. Like this is just the evolution of the process of the same thing. Is you're trying to share an idea in a creative way that resonates with the viewer of the idea a little bit differently than just posting text in a tweet. And I think I do think it's fun. Like I really enjoy the process, and like a big part of why I enjoy the Beagle so much is because I get to dump my frustrations with the world into being creative and like channel it. It's a form of transmuting it in a lot of way, and it's fun. It's fun, and like I hope everybody has an outlet like that. But it's also fun as a time capsule to just you go back and you look at your old memes. You go back to the early days when you first became interested in Bitcoin, or freedom or anarchism or libertarianism, or whatever it is, and you're out there and you're creating these memes. Like you just read Larkin Rose's what's the most dangerous superstition for the first time, right? You became all religious around this idea of freedom. You got to convert the world, and you go back and you look at your memes and they're just so cringy. Like you think you're a super genius for posting taxation and stuff, and you kind of go through these processes growing up, but it's fun to look at those processes, those different points in your life where you go back and you're like, wow, I was just super cringy and posting pleb slop. Now, not everybody grows up out of that. Some people just stay pleb sloppers for life. But some people grow out of it, and they move on to making better memes and communicating their ideas in more effective ways. And so it is fun for me to go through the process, because I've only been doing this for a little bit over a year. if even at this point. I don't even know if it was a year. It happened a few months into us doing the podcast. And no, yeah, we're over a year with the podcast. I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's probably been roughly a year I've been writing music like this. And it's just the process will change a lot and the content will change a lot. But in many ways, it's a reflection of, just my changes in perception of the world around me. And I think a lot of the ideas are going to stay the same. It's just the communication methods are going to change. And my tastes are going to change and interests are going to change. But yeah, I don't know. It is a fun process. Like it bums me out when I see people super discouraged out there, and I go on YouTube and, I kind of track what people are watching and thinking with this AI music stuff. And they look at it and they're just like, what's the point of me doing what I'm doing anymore? It's like, the question at the end of the day, or the reason, the purpose of why you should be doing what you're doing is because you love it. And you enjoy it. You enjoy the process. You enjoy the process of using your brain. You enjoy the process of just communicating ideas and getting reception. Now, I think where people are getting frustrated is they feel like people's interest and taste and reception is changing. And they're having to compete with this of people propagating ideas. It's a crowded market of a lot of things, and all of a sudden all these people came in, they could communicate these ideas at a much lower cost. Now the thing is like, there's some people that are going to be good at it, and there's a lot of people that are really bad at it. Like if you go on Wavelake right now, it's full of AI slop, and most of them are really bad at it. And it is taken away from, I think, some value for value creators, that have really tried to make that a serious platform. But like, it's more of a failure of the market and the product, I think, than it is a failure of being interesting. Like a huge part of gaining an audience and being successful is being a showman in a lot of ways, in figuring out how to deliver what you're creating to people. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert at it, but I have had some success at it. And that's challenging because, like, a lot of really talented musicians, they just struggle with that side of it. Like, I think a lot of the most talented musicians that really make it, they have people that come alongside them and kind of teach them how to do it and, propel them forward. Like behind pretty much every good musician that has had a ton of success, a good manager, right? There's a lot of bad managers. There's a lot of incredible musicians that never make it because they just didn't have the right people behind them, pushing them forward and helping them with things so that they could focus on their craft and their art. But I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting. It's interesting to see, the discouragement, but it's like the problem I have with it, with the doomerism, is it was already bad. Like the music industry was horrendous and has been horrendous for a while. Like the Diddy parties aren't something that's new. Like there's a ton of abuse going on. There's a bunch of bad business practices. The streaming services don't really serve musicians very well. And it kind of comes back to this idea of struggle. And you see, like, the greatest musicians oftentimes become where they're at because of tremendous struggle. Like you hear the story over and over again of like songwriters and musicians being on the verge of bankruptcy before they make it. And some people, just kind of fall off and they lose it. But like it's the struggle that they persevere through that creates, I think, some of the best art. And oftentimes when people make it, they kind of lose that ability to be inspired. Um, it's a common theme that I see. It's the struggle that is the greatest opportunity for creatives. And it's one of those things when you're looking at the world around you, like it's good to just be thankful, be like, wow, like I'm kind of glad that I live at a time that's difficult, where I have the opportunity to really get pushed to places I wouldn't have been pushed if I could not only afford a house but afford a timeshare because I'm borrowing for my children's future. Pretending like the stuff around me isn't screwed up, because it's just so comfortable and nice and easy. And like it wasn't all easy, but relatively speaking, it's just like it's much harder to own a house and have a timeshare in Cabo or wherever, or be a snowbird and own two houses. Um, but it doesn't mean it's like the end of the world or whatever. The struggle really offers the ability to have opportunity. And it's like you look at, maybe one of the things that has kind of dampened a lot of the memeing around Bitcoin is all the regulatory clarity that's come. And like people were promised forever that regulatory clarity would make everything better, and it just kind of made things gayer. It shouldn't be a shock. But like a lot of the battles that people were fighting, for they kind of accomplished it. It's like, great, like you accomplish the ability for people to see the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. What do you do now? A lot of people understand how negative money printing is. Like a lot of people own Bitcoin. A lot of people self custody it. Like you kind of accomplish it, and it didn't really, to some degree, it didn't really, magically fix anything. You're waiting around for Dennis Porter to come in with the God announcement, and he's off hanging out with Kim Jong Un in North Korea, and the plebs are defecting to North Korea because they're mad about the lack of announcements in the United States. They're like, we're going to go live in the premier, like El Salvador wasn't as exciting as we thought it would be. Feel rug pulled by Max Kaiser. We're going to go hang out with Dennis and Kim Jong Un. But the struggle is like the greatest opportunity. Like why were the memes, great? It was because, people were having fun. The 2021, the 2017 bull markets, they were fun. They were exciting. It's fun when the price goes up because you feel vindicated. You feel vindicated for all the struggle that you endured during the bear market of people not paying attention to you or whatever. You see this consistent theme of, it's not just cope. Like, bear markets can be fun. We're in a we're they call it like a crab market or whatever, or purgatory market. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's important to have fun, regardless of what's happening around the world. And sometimes you have to be flexible and adjust. Like you're in life, you're in those rapids, you're going down the river and being a rag doll. And when you get slammed against a rock, instead of bitching about the rock, you just got to pick yourself up and deal with it. You can be pissed. And that anger, you could take it into channel. What do? You paddle harder. You don't get stuck in being immobilized because the rock hits you. You got to get the fuck out of those rapids, and you got to paddle. Next song is Masters of Slop. We're in a sloppy world, folks. It's sloppy time. This is a fun song about the mechanisms of slop, followed up by Here With Me Now.
The bandwagon while it's hot. It's time to twist the plebs up into knots. They are useful cannon fodder. Shouting the roof's on fire. Tell the sane that they are liars. Who cares about truth or honor? Whip up a raging storm, direct those who are uninformed. They wanted a moral crusade anyways. Weaponize all their fears, manipulate them to become volunteers to fight a war to earn your praise. You are a master, master of pleb slop. Tell them you are on their side while your true intentions hide. Plebs don't question, they just react. Isolated, angry, and alone. They wanna feel seen and known. Validate their feelings so they ignore facts. Point them like a loaded gun. Rob them of any fun. Their minds are yours to steal. They will sing how you are great. Amplify what you create. Whatever you say they think is real. You are the master. You are the masters of slow. The crowd cheers when you talk and boos the ones you mock, not understanding what they do. They think they're on the winning side, repeating talking points you provide, parroting all that you spew. Follow the masters, follow the masters of slop. and fight, fill them with venom and spite. The playbook isn't new. Manipulating the masses, the true masters of
The world around us may be crashing down. It's hard not to be consumed with doubt. But I'm okay 'cause you're here with me now.
Yeah.
The person on the TV screens for more war, arguing that only dropping bombs can settle the score. More printing and surveillance, we've been here before, but the pain is so intense that it can't be ignored. Getting priced out of the things that bring you purpose. A generation aimlessly wandering, feeling worthless. The masses are angry, arguing who to steal from, but I'm just here trying to experience freedom. Being a slave to no one is what I dream of, but the slaves around me want me to be them. There are days it feels like I'm all alone, consumed by the isolation of being unknown. I'm glad you're with me 'cause I need it. Hopelessness is a lie, but you can't be alone to defeat it.
The world around us may be crashing down. It's hard not to be consumed with doubt. But I'm okay 'cause you're here with me now. I've been searching all around, praying to be found. But I'm not alone because you're here with me now. With me now.
There's a weight I drop from caring what people think. Why consider the opinions of the people bringing us to the brink? I just want to work hard, but they keep getting in my way, leeching off my labor because they have debts to pay. When sanity and honesty are discouraged and condemned, society lacks a moral compass. Truth is like dust in the wind. The temptation for despair grows like a raging storm. There is an anger in my chest for trying to make me conform. They tell me that I'm sick for trusting my gut and having conviction, while they spin their tales of insidious fiction. They think my body and mind is their jurisdiction, yet the pictures they paint are riddled with obvious contradiction. The whole system is rotten from top to bottom. I will fight to the death before self-respect is forgotten.
The world around us may be crashing down. It's hard not to be consumed with doubt. But I'm okay 'cause you're here with me now. I've been searching all around, praying to be found. But I'm not alone because you're here with me now. With me now.
The truth matters because lies have consequences. You can't get to where you want if you accept their pretenses. Democracy is about using bad information to form consensus. Learning what's real, you must learn to trust your senses. It hurts to see how the world works, but hurts more to ignore it. Running up debts but future generations can't afford it. Having a future worth living in lies to the few that can see. We rely on those who are willing to die in order to be free. Many
The world around us may be crashing down. It's hard not to be consumed with doubt. But I'm okay 'cause you're here with me now. I've been searching all around, praying to be found, but I'm not alone because you're here with me
Oh, I've been listening to a lot of really good music recently, and it's just something there have been times in my life where I've not listened to a lot of good music, and those times in my life have largely been when I've been listening to like 80 hours of Bitcoin podcasts a week in audiobooks. Because like one of the things, if you listen to 40 hours Bitcoin podcasts a week, you get assigned a bunch of books. People talk about books. You got to read the Fourth Turning. You got to read the Sovereign Individual. You got to read the Bitcoin Standard. If you haven't read it in a while, you got to read it again. Realize now, years later, after listening to 40 hours Bitcoin, you get your 10,000 hours and you get your orange beret mailed to you by PodConf or whoever. And like I got to go back and read it. Now I realize it's pleb slop because I read a lot of Rothbard and Mises and Hayek and Thomas Sowell and just like all these different schools of thought on economics and listen to a bunch of people regurgitate the things that they read in those books on podcasts. And now I think a little bit about or I think differently about it than I used to. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to listen to good music. I mean, I've been working on this EDM album called Heroes to go along with my Heroes podcast series that I've been doing, and it's been a lot of fun. And the next song that I'm going to play to end the night is called "Feel the Rage," and I did a music video that I had a lot of fun with. It was kind of I had this idea of I wanted to do a music video about the concept of rage, and I wanted to feature Lola in the Rage because they have such a cool brand, and I just thought it would be cool, and I think it turned out really well, and I'm excited with it. If you haven't checked out the music video, it's on Twitter. You can go over to our YouTube and watch that. I got to post it on Nostr too. If you go to my Richard Greaser profile or the Beagle profile, reposted it, and you can go scroll there and find it. But I've been listening to a bunch of EDM, and EDM is it's electronic music is a genre I listened to a lot when I was younger, and then I kind of got away from it. And I had a series of years where I just kind of listened to music as background noise instead of really like sitting down to appreciate it. And when you listen to really good dance music and you experience it in person and you have a really good DJ, like a really good DJ, that is really good at setting the tone for something, like it is an art, it's a craft, it's a form of storytelling, it's a form of a really interesting form of expression. It's more than just taking a playlist and hitting play, kind of like I'm doing tonight. I'm not really like I guess I'm doing like an internet radio DJ spot of sorts, but that's different than, performing as a DJ at an event, to try and get people to be engaged and dance. It's different. But it's been fun going through and listening to EDM and, creating these playlists of music that I really like. And, I've been working with this guy and talking a lot with this guy that's a huge EDM fan. And so we're nerding out about all these songs and what goes into them. And I'm really taking a look at my, production process, because there could be a lot more added to the music that I'm creating. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, there's this group that I love called Mord Fustang, and they just create these instrumental tracks that are just awesome to listen to. I listened to them a lot when I was younger. Lick the Rainbow, Milky Way, those are great songs. But anyways, I'm just enjoying this process. I'm having a hell of a lot of fun doing it. And I mean, I think that's the key. Like, I think, like, you care about this idea of freedom, through financial sovereignty, or, whatever. You care about these ideas of privacy, or, whatever. Whatever you care about, one of the selling points that you got to give to people is that you can have more fun doing it. And so I'm trying to sell to people that, one of the goals of the Beagle is to sell people that are creating the content that they can have fun doing it and do interesting things, and they can use their mind. And it doesn't have to just be this burnout grind of them saying the same pleb slop every day and, like just begging for views with open mouth thumbnails. Like, you can bring people into a compelling story. And we're living in a very compelling story of these individuals that are trying to take on the Federal Reserve. Like, it's a in the global banking system. Like, it is a David and Goliath type situation that I think is a noble cause, whether it's relatively successful, like, you or not. If people are all coin joining, their Bitcoin in the future, and worrying about the privacy, running nodes or whatever. Like, I think we've all kind of accepted that's probably not going to be the case. But if they care about things like freedom, and they're just like, yeah, I don't like Palantir being up my ass. I don't like these dynamics of the world that we live in, where Peter Thiel gets to, have access to every single piece of data that I'm putting out on the internet or whatever, and listen in to all my conversations, and have a AI bot analyze all of that, so they know which pleb slop to feed me to get me to behave a certain way. You want to sell the idea that that's not the future that is ideal, and that there's other options outside of that. You got to have fun doing it. You know what I mean? You got to be interested. And you're just going to be more effective if you're having a good time. Like, whoever's having the most fun wins. And that's the key to success. Like, I think one of the reasons why preppers have a good time is because they unplug to some degree. Some of them are super plugged in, but, like, being a prepper means actively doing work, right? It's more than just stacking cans in your closet or whatever. And some people go pretty full bore into it, and they like the game plan all these scenarios and whatever. But it's like, oftentimes, if you're going to be like a good prepper, you got to move out into the woods to some degree, ways from densely populated areas. You got to take on a little bit more responsibility in your life. And, like, when you're building out like a homestead, or doing all these things, like, you're just not consuming pleb slop on Twitter all day. And not only that, you're taking actions to feel better about the world that you live in, and you're probably going to have fun doing it. Like, I think there's a lot of preppers that are having fun, and you don't hear from them as much. I think on, like, you can find them in the group chats, but you don't hear from them as much, because they're not necessarily slopping around on Twitter or whatever. But those types of things are fun to do. That's what I see. And part of the reason why I like the Paznia radio network and in Liberty Under Attack and all the stuff that Rayo's up to is because I see it as a vehicle to having fun. I've hung out with Rayo. I've had fun with Rayo. Had a lot of conversations with Rayo through the years. We've had fun. He's a guy that is presenting people a vehicle of how to have fun and build a world that you want to live in the first turning. And I've got a lot of admiration for that and respect for that. But yeah, if you want to learn more about what's going on, best place to buy books in the world, non-KYC books. Go to libertyunderattack.com. You got a bunch of topics that you're not gonna see discussed in other places, but there's a book I like a lot by Ben Stone, the Bad Quaker. That's what he goes by, called Sedition, Subversion, Sabotage, and that's an interesting book to read right now, especially with how many people are kind of adopting this dissident type mindset, are really grumpy at the feds. That's an interesting book to read. I think it'll inform you a lot. It'll just give you different ideas on how to approach life. But that book was actually why I discovered Rayo, was because he had it published on his website. But yeah, go check it out. libertyunderattack.com, non-KYC books. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. Like, he's not paying me to do it. And I appreciate what he's doing. But this is the final song closing out. Thank you for listening to me to ramble for 2 hours and play slop songs. This is Feel the Rage. I'll catch you here in 2 weeks on the next Music Monday.
Try so hard to play their way, follow the rules but couldn't stay, chained to a desk like a wage slave, punished no matter how hard I behave. I tried my best to be what they desired, but all it ever got me was feeling tired. I was hurt and wanted to be healed. All I ever wanted was to feel. It was all built on lies. I had to open my eyes. I will no longer be caged. I just wanna feel the rage, 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 I was never taught how to use Now I just to rage. If you lose because you follow their rules and still keep working as a useful fool, who is really the one to blame? If everything stays the same, nothing good comes from feeding parasites. Crops don't grow only from electrolytes. It was all built on lies. I had to open my eyes. I will no longer be caged. I just wanna feel the rage. Now I just want